I'm not being rude, but it's just your attitude. It's tearing me apart, it's ruining everything. And I swore I would be true. And honey, so did you. So why were you holding her hand? Is that the way we stand? Were you lying all the time? Was it just a game to you? But I'm in so deep. You know I'm such a fool for you. You got me right. the ante. I know you got to see me. Read on and weep the dead man's hand again. I see it in your eyes. Take one look and die. The only thing you see, you know it's gonna be the ace of spades. The ace of spades. Oh, and I see, somehow it always seems that I'm dreaming of something I can never be. It doesn't matter to me, 'cause I will always be that pimp that I see in all of my fantasies. I don't know your fudging name, so what? Let's screwing might be the only way that I can truly be free from my fudged up reality. So I dream and stroke it harder, 'cause it's so fun to see my face staring back at me. I don't know your heckin' name, so what? Let's make love. All day I dream about sex. All day I dream about loving. All day I dream about loving. All day I dream about sex. Yes, all day I dream about sex. And all day I dream about sex. Yes, all day I dream about sex. And all day I dream about sex. Yes, all day I dream about sex. And all day I dream about sex. Yes, all day I dream about sex. All day I dream about sex. All day I dream about loving. Oh, 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 oh. All day I dream about sex. All day I dream about loving. All day I dream about sex. All day I dream about loving.
This is XboxEra. We're an independent, community-funded publication focused on providing the best coverage and discussion of your favourite platform, Xbox. With best-in-class forums, a kick-ass Discord server, and awesome merch, XboxEra.com is your destination for the best news, reviews, and features focused on what you care about. With shows like the XboxEra podcast, headlines, and a whole heap of Patreon-exclusive content, we're proud to be an independent publication completely funded by you. If you value having an outlet truly focused on your preferred place to play, you can become one of the cool kids by supporting us directly via Patreon. Just head to patreon.com/XboxEra. You get cool swag and awesome perks, and we get to keep doing what we do. Become a part of the best Xbox community on the internet and help us grow even larger. Thank you for your support. Everything XboxEra does is only made possible by the growing army of incredible Patreon supporters. Our MVPs and executive producers are all incredible people, but even more so are our grand benefactors, Croat56, Assassin, and Kevin S. All of this under the watchful eye of our lovely and benevolent CEO, Torn Raptor. If you want to become part of one of the best communities on the internet, head to patreon.com/XboxEra, where your patronage can help keep us alive for another month. Hello, friends. No jaunty piano today. We're here live for a special report edition of XboxEra Headlines to deal in the utter misery that Microsoft has foisted upon the gaming industry today. I'm joined as always by Jesse. Today is July the 2nd. Hey, Jesse.
Yep.
We knew today was coming.
Yep. For over a month, as our friend of the site, Tom Warren, has been reporting lots and lots of cuts planned at Microsoft, which means a company that big, even if it's only 4%, is a lot of people.
Yeah. And suffice to say, it has been a brutal day so far. I think we're through the worst of it now. But there still might be stuff that breaks during the show. Like, there's so much scuttlebutt that we had heard, that we had prepared for. It's hard to even know where to begin. And I think we probably begin with that our hearts go out to everybody affected by these layoffs outside of the games that we're going to lose, which is, I know, for people watching, perhaps the primary concern, and we'll get into that. There are people that I know personally at Microsoft who have lost their roles today. And it sucks. It sucks. It feels unnecessary for us mere mortals with our, limited bank accounts, living paycheck to paycheck. But to the entity that is Microsoft, this apparently is necessary. I question that. I question a lot of things today. I question their attitude. I question their direction. It's just a bummer. It is a bummer in every sense of the word. Man, this isn't going to be a fun show. This is going to be a fucking miserable show. So, buckle
Some
up,
would say
I
most
guess.
of them are, because they don't like us.
It feels that way. Yeah. I mean, if everything, and I say this again in full candor, we've talked about changing the name before. If I've ever wanted to change the name more than ever, it's today.
But you are an emotional being.
I'm an emotional guy,
Yeah.
right? I understand the business reasons, but right now my emotions are bubbling.
It's one of those things where we understand the business reasons. I don't think we're not surprised or anything. We just hate it. Yeah. It's just hatred because it's a thing and it shouldn't be a thing.
Grand benefactor Assassin Entertainment in the chat says, "Hey, Jon and Jesse, I'm sorry to say, but I'm so angry it's not even funny." Bro, I'm right there with you. Andy Robinson implies we're not done. If Fable or Blade gets gutted, I'm done. No.
Right, no. So, he was talking about something with Rare.
It's probably going to be job losses at Rare following the cancellation of Everwild. So, to my knowledge, Blade, I saw that surfacing earlier.
Yeah, no, Blade. It's fine. The Blade thing was.
Fable is fine. Just expect more job losses from Rare.
Someone had said that in French had said, "Oh, glad to hear Arcane Leon hasn't been affected today." And then somebody else said, "Oh my God, Blade's canceled." And then a few minutes later was like, "I was wrong, sorry." And people are like, "Jesus Christ, man!"
We've also seen a lot of that today, and I guess I put out a tweet earlier on that said, hey, I'm hearing this, I'm working to confirm. And obviously the rumor that I was hearing was with regards to Perfect Dark and the initiative. I'd heard this rumor 3 days ago, was working to confirm it. And funnily enough, I actually had the article ready before Windows Central had actually posted theirs. But they got Matt Booty's email. Interestingly, like very quickly. But yeah, hey,
we're not at that level.
Let's dive into all of these things, and let's talk off with the closure of the initiative and the cancellation of what looks to be at the surface level a very promising immersive sim shooter with the Perfect Dark reboot. Yeah, it's now cancelled. Perfect Dark is cancelled. The initiative, Microsoft's touted quadruple A studio helmed by Darrell Gallagher, which was announced in 2018, has been shut down. Now, granted, there are only around 50 employees of that studio in the Santa Monica area, to my knowledge, with the majority of development work being helmed by Crystal Dynamics, which was, of course, Darrell Gallagher's previous stomping grounds.
And as is wont to happen, lots of things trying to explain why it may have happened are starting to come out from people, both with sources like on XboxEra and from Jez themselves, saying essentially what we saw last year was smoke and mirrors with vertical slice thrown together for a gameplay loop that didn't feel good yet. And they're 7 years in from, the very beginning. The story around the initiative was always a weird one where they brought in a just who's who of talent to all yell at each other to try and figure out the best way to do it, not realizing that kind of killed Halo for years. Not having a leader who sets things in like it was never in great shape, to the point where then almost everyone left and they brought in Crystal Dynamics to try and save it, but supposedly Crystal Dynamics didn't really know Unreal Engine 5, and so it was kind of a learning while building thing for years. And at this point, it feels like the games that were canceled were the ones that just were not coming together fast enough, especially if they'd already been going for 7-8 years. It's still speculation on exactly why, as they never say, and they never will. It'll be like, but Phil said that he went to see Everwild not that long ago, and it was in great shape. And it's like, they might show him something that looks really good, but we don't know the rest of the story, and no one's ever going to go take pictures at a studio and then say, yeah, the game's really rough and far out. I don't know if we're going to keep it. We're probably going to end up canceling it. Like, they're going to say, no, it was great. Everything's looking awesome. They're going to be positive.
Rachie in the chat says 7 years and nothing to show for it. And I think inadvertently, perhaps, you've stumbled upon the very point. Is that they have been working and paying people for 7 years, and they probably did a recent assessment, and when this is another 2-3 years away, we're going to shut it down. Something cost fallacy being what it is. That is, and this is where the romantic in me, the person that loves to play these wonderful toys that get crafted for us, gets crossed, because you can't always rush art, and Microsoft, wrongly in my opinion, always approach these things from a pure business mindset. The creative side of this industry is just pushed to the side, and the money men go, no, that's not worth it. Like, let's fast forward. It's probably because of the inexperience of the team or whatever reason. Maybe it's only Xbox right
the
now,
main
Xbox
reasons
PC.
most of the time is poor management. They were exceedingly hands off with everyone when they first acquired or built them. And then they went, oh shit. And we had a restructuring around trying to fix that. And I do think in a company that's almost 240,000 people big before these cuts, because they just keep going up, which is also crazy. These cuts have been talked about as less of a light restructuring and more of a, we're not going to replace these jobs. So, because they went from being like 170,000 a decade or less ago to almost 240,000 now, even though they keep firing people. They rehire more. But like this whole setup with Xbox and what is the actual structure going to be of everything moving forward is probably going to take a long ass time to figure out, because even just getting everything integrated that they've bought and built up still isn't really done.
And that's where I'm actually kind of curious about some of these things. Is like, it's the structuring part, right? They've done these integrations, limited as they may be, or maybe now they're more deep. But, you know, there's so many butting ideas to me that speak to Microsoft's broader approach. And again, I can't help but feel that there's a combination of loads of different things that go into making these decisions. You know, they look at some of the recent successes from smaller teams. And I'm not saying smaller as in 20 people or any of the nonsense stories like that, but they're looking at these where they're using a combination of a driven core team and maybe outsourcing in some aspects. And for a surprisingly limited budget, they pull off Game of the Year contenders.
Yeah.
Versus the current way of doing things for them, which is first party behemoths that still do loads of outsourcing, have tons of management, and
you're paying everyone's salaries every day.
Yeah.
You're paying their healthcare, all that type of stuff. It's like people are like, how come contraband's not gone? Because, well, they don't, unless they've got a really weird setup, they don't have to pay their salaries every day. They don't own Avalanche. I don't know exactly what the setup would be, but it's a messed up, broken system that they are doing what they think is the right way, and they keep making more money than ever. But I think all of us fear, not only for just how the people who are working there end up having to deal with all this bullshit, like the long-term ramifications of it, especially with the seeming can't say no anymore corporate mandate on using Copilot. It's like, no matter what your job is now, you have to use Copilot so we can keep selling this as a product. Like, nothing about these moves feels like the video game people first. It feels like Satya Nadella and Amy Hood and the rest really punching down, because we're supposed to be at the make a lot of money part of a console generation. And people are like, well, they you know, why are they upping prices? Why are they cutting costs? Why are they trying to work on margins? And it's like, well, you're 5 years into the generation. That's when you're supposed to make all the money you spent at the start of it. And so this seems to be their plan now. Kind of stop investing in this generation platform-wise, focus on next gen, cut costs on any games that aren't coming together right finally, consolidate our middle management structure across all of Microsoft, because everything has too much red tape to get through. All things that make logical sense, but us as consumers don't give a shit about, shouldn't, and because we care about the actual people making the games and the games themselves. And I don't know that these moves make great video games for me to play, so I don't like them.
It doesn't feel it, right? Like, it's just hard to separate the love for the art side of things with Microsoft's insatiable greed. But yeah, this sees the closure of the initiative and the cancellation of Perfect Dark. And like, Perfect Dark was one of my most anticipated first-party games from Microsoft. You know, this was a childhood classic, rare classic for me.
And seemingly you were way into it with being tricked. That the game was in terrible shape and wasn't anything like that trailer, supposedly. So, which doesn't hand wave away and say, oh, I get why they shut them now. It's like, why were they so bad at running them? How could you go this long and still be in this bad of shape? That's on them.
It's like some of the infamous rumors we heard, like way back when Halo Infinite got shown for the first time, right? And we're like, how did this get to here in front of our eyeballs? Like, how did every management layer at Microsoft, right up until that video being produced, say, this is good to go? It beggars belief, right? And I heard all sorts of stories, and I'm not going to repeat them because I'd like to consider, even though I've never been to journalism school, myself to be somewhat responsible in the things that I utter out loud. Unlike some of the crazy takes I've seen from professionals in this industry today.
People are very emotionally post on social media, and the top people in the industry don't emotionally post on social media because they would have the exact same takes. But there's always been, journalism has always been seen as the main profession that must be unbiased, which humanity is not in anything else. Like, no one else is held to that standard. It's always been kind of weird. Admirable, but weird that journalism was held to such a standard. When pretty much I can't think of anything else that is actually held to it.
Indeed.
But
Indeed.
yeah. But it's not just the initiative, John.
No, it's not. It's not. Elsewhere, we have confirmation from multiple sources that Everwild, Rare's follow-up to Sea of Thieves, which cast your minds back, was released in 2017. So we're nearly a decade later.
Yeah, and I think we said when we didn't see it, we were really surprised, and it made us very curious what state the game was in.
Especially because we had Phil on the show for episode 250, and he said, what was the quote? I've visited Rare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had a tweet out. He had visited Rare. Game was intimating the game was looking good, and he was excited with what he had seen. But Phil is also a guy who likes video games, and so when he gets to see something new and fun, I do believe he would be happy and enjoy it. But then the more technical and money people jump in and are like, how close is this? And they're like, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. And then they go, well. Because
I don't know. I think the trend that you can kind of see looking at these in the cold light of day is 7 years, 8 years, nothing.
Yeah.
What do we do about that? What do we do with that decision?
Yeah, unlike Fable and others that are like, we know when it's coming. We had it set for this year. We've moved it to next, but we know. These ones feel like we're not 100% sure, even if they tell us, Again, all speculation, but it's what people do.
What really bums me out about this, and I understand the way these things are done, in that it is not Microsoft's job to tell the press who's fired and who's cancelled. It's their job to tell the employee and the studio and the team. But I feel so sorry for teams that will wake up and read it on the internet before they get an email. And
even though it's like, we know why it happened, people are like, how does this happen? It's because they do them in batches and waves because they only have so many people trained in firing
as well.
Yeah, and so one person who gets fired and knows what's happening then tells a reporter. Like, that's why it happens. It sucks. It's also, it's one of the things that shows why companies they feel too big. Like, they're so big and they're so global and international that doing this type of layoff just takes so long. They can't bring everyone in the company into a room or a meeting and go over everything and then a press release or whatever comes out. It's just always, we've got to roll through it. We got to keep going. And it also sucks that they do them in these enormous batches. Like,
it's almost like the time of year can roll around and you can set your clock by it. People are getting fired today.
Every January, every June, every January, every June. Like, just
We've got some super chats here. We've got Sherez dropping in. What is up with Microsoft's management? I thought that after Redfall, which was actually a good game, they would be more strict. I can't believe they let Everwild and Perfect Dark run themselves into the ground. This is the thing. Like, we could say that, right? Again, if I try and put my sensible, non-emotional hat on, we can say, well, how did they do that? But this is them literally not doing that. This is them literally saying, okay, sorry, you've had enough, pulling the plug.
Yeah, but it's doing it in this giant batch makes it feel way worse, too. It's all bad, and it's compounded bad because it's in this giant batch.
Yeah. Assassin Entertainment, again, says, love how they went multi-platform, making more money than they ever have. The result, games cancelled, studios shut down, gamers like us losing out. How can anyone trust Microsoft after this than last year? I think the important thing here is, mate, is to not trust any of these companies.
You've had 4 years to know not to trust any of them. Like, people seem shocked and surprised, but it's not new. It's always been bad. You should never have, like Phil even said, if you read his statement, he's like, he addresses the elephant in the room. He doesn't. He does it poorly, I think, in large part because it has to be approved by lawyer speak. It can't be plain and honest. And like, yes, we made more money than ever,
Corpo
and
speak.
your reward is being fired. But you can go work over here in this new thing we're doing for the new direction and just do the whole cycle again. Like there's no nice, good, smart way to say it, but he still felt compelled to say it, which just it comes off horribly. It's like, yes, we are doing the best we've ever done. Eat shit.
Yeah. I mean, look, I know we're called XboxEra, and there's probably an assumption that we'll all be like, leave Microsoft alone. Like we're going to, no. Yeah. They're all horrible companies. We cover the Xbox platform because it was our preferred place to play.
We felt we knew about it in a way that wasn't covered properly among most in the industry.
Because they don't play on it. As people that play on the platform, I can't think of anything good to say to you right now. Like there's nothing good to say about this. Like I have a lot of questions that I would kill for the opportunity to sit down and actually have a candid, non-PR controlled conversation and just be like, why are you making some of the decisions that you are making? Because to me, admittedly, what do I know, right? But like, I feel like some common sense could be applied, but I do feel to a degree, and you know, Jesse, I know you might disagree with this. Maybe it's my emotions talking, but to a degree, the age-old saying of what we've said in this show for a long time is that sometimes Microsoft just doesn't get it, still rings very, very true.
I've always agreed with it on the top level people who dictate everything. Like if it was just Phil Spencer and actual video game people, I wouldn't say Matt Booty so much. He seems pretty corporate. I think there are people within Xbox who 100% get it and want to do things, but have very little to no control over it. Like the corporate mandate right now at Microsoft is maximize earnings, push Copilot. Those are like their main tenets I keep seeing. Maximize your margins, push Copilot. Both, like they even talked about in this, about using new tools to help, like Copilot. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Nissa Howe in the chat says, can I say we should not catastrophize? I have a habit of catastrophizing in many aspects.
Yeah, I don't. And that's why people say, you're defending. I'm like, no, I'm used to how shitty it is. This isn't new.
Yeah.
There's nothing new here. This is typical corporate shittiness where they are pragmatists about situations that involve 9,100 people's lives. Like for them, you are just a number, and they can compartmentalize that, and they can cut you off. They'll give you a very nice severance package. At the very least, they'll try and help you find another position, even within the company, so they don't feel too bad. But if it doesn't happen, man, what the fuck? They won't know. There's too many people to track for that. So they are able to compartmentalize these, what feel to us, evil actions, because for them, it is just number here, number here, number here. These make sense. We're bigger than we've ever been, constantly doing this now for decades. Like we hire, we fire, we cycle, we shift. Being agile, we got to shift to the moment, like type of stuff. That is their big key word is agile, agile, agile. So I'm not going to be surprised when this happens again in January. I'm not going to be surprised when this happens again in a year. Like I'm just going to hate it the same amount every time, which is just below losing my mind.
Yeah. I have so much more I want to say, but
Nick knows nothing. I wonder if his guy was fired.
No, I don't believe Nick knew anything. I think in this instance, I actually got a little bit more coming down the pipeline than Nick did. But who knows?
The story is up from Andy Robinson. Greg Mayles is leaving Rare after 35 years.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise
that
me.
Would be heads rolling for things not going well at studios that people always call for, but then when you realize what it means, realize it sucks.
Yeah. So there we go. Breaking news. Greg Mayles leaving.
Reportedly. We do have to say reportedly, which no one's really been saying today.
I mean, this is the other thing. You do wish they could just...
Because it's Andy Robinson reporting with sources. So he's not saying it's absolutely happened. He's saying it's reported.
It doesn't make it makes sense to me. Like Greg Mayles has always been the guy leading Rare that's always said, I don't want to make remake. Like people wondering, where's my Banjo-Kazooie remake or new game from Rare? They don't want to keep revisiting old ideas. They constantly want to be making new stuff. And well, I could say to you that, you could look at it as well. If Greg Mayles was the lead saying no to that sort of thing at Rare, maybe that attitude has changed. And I think that is the other thing that gaming is starting to do, is they're just going to constantly push to revisit existing IP because that's where the success is.
That's where everyone actually spends money. It sucks. I hate it.
Here's
and
your
I understand
game
it
from 15 years ago, remastered. Boom, 15 million players.
Yeah, it absolutely sucks.
Well, that's easier. That's easier for us, says Mr. Massive Game Company, than to invest X amount of $1 million into something new that then maybe doesn't sell because people are running out of money.
I mean, that's like the main thing with Perfect Dark. It was a single player game. And as much as people constantly say they want single player games that are new IP, and even though it was using the name and characters, it's, new-ish, reboot. How do you make all the money back? Like, it's super expensive to make games in Los Angeles or in that area. Like, it's unbelievably expensive. That's why I think you will see more and more games in partnerships with places like Poland and various Asian and Southeast Asian countries, even though they call everything Southeast Asia, even though Japan and Korea are not. They're like East and Northeast. It doesn't, whatever. But there's a lot of cheaper places that can make great games.
Yeah, I'm seeing here, beyond Greg Mayles' departure, the executive producer for Everwild, Louise O'Connor, another Rare veteran, says Andy Robinson, whose first project at Rare was Conker's Bad Fur Day for Nintendo 64, will also be leaving the company following Everwild's cancellation. Mayles was one of Rare's earliest design hires, with his first credited game, Solar Jetman, releasing in 1990. But he was one of Britain's most prolific and celebrated game directors, helming Donkey Kong Country, Banjo-Kazooie and Tooie, Grabbed by the Ghoulies and Viva Pinata. He also designed Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, Connect Sports, and served as the creative director for its live service hit Sea of Thieves. He's worked on nearly 30 games at Rare. That is a tremendous loss out of this industry.
I just seen in the chat and I forgot. Yeah, like Amazon just did 27,000 layoffs. Like it's I think Intel had over 600. They completely shut down their automotive industry. It's like, it's crazy how normalized these ridiculously large companies laying off a small percent, because I think Amazon's like 350, almost 400 grand. It is shit. But it's been shit.
It's so bad.
But games are also never better than they've ever been. I'm having more fun playing video games than ever, which I think is a testament to how amazing the people that make them are and how good some of the companies and some of the management are about still getting things out. Like it's always this give and take. It's just, it's a hard thing to wrap your head around. It's a hard thing to talk about without emotion. It's a hard thing to explain, and I do think a lot of times people just are not in the mood to be explained to. And I get it.
People are angry today, and I fully support their anger. I'm going to put it that way. Yeah. So, like, I can see Nissa in the chat
personal
saying, like, hey,
insults. We're still not good with those. But not personal insults.
Don't get personal, but like, you can call Microsoft a complete prick because that's an entity.
And even Satya makes like 90 million a year. He'll be fine. He can take it. The very tippity top people you can call garbage because they have to be, because that's the only way they get to the tippity top. You can't convince me otherwise. It's
like, I don't know. It is this butting of ideologies to me that Microsoft as a business, as a nearly $4 trillion company now, because their shareholders are just the shares price is going up. They really seem to struggle with balancing the creative and the financial to their detriment, I feel. And it's like we've seen it when you keep good teams that have been together and worked together. I said this on the show the other day about like Machine Games with Indiana Jones. you keep a good team like that together, and they'll make you a great game. You keep gutting them every 3 years, they won't. You keep bringing in people that are just outsourced and get tenure for 18 months, and then they have to bail, and you have to teach someone new again. It's not a recipe to make cool stuff. You need people that are cohesive and together and believing in a project as one unit. And you're not going to get that by this analytical approach to how things work.
Yeah.
And I feel in this industry in particular, because of the way it's covered, because of the online community that surrounds it, be it on Twitter, on Blue Sky, on forums, in our Discords, in our communities, everything is either the best or the worst, right? Much like most things online nowadays. And we can't, they don't seem to grasp the way that they're spoken about fully, or they just don't care. And they don't do anything to help repeal that image. I mean, rewind to all of these studios getting bought and saying, "Yay, we don't have to worry about this anymore." Absolutely true. Now you have to worry about this from Microsoft instead.
You'll keep getting a paycheck,
work your butt off
until a whole bunch of you
that
don't.
Creative idea and get it out. If you don't do that on time, you're gone. I think that sucks. Elsewhere, Zenimax Online's Project Blackbird is cancelled. Now, obviously, this was, I don't think, ever actually fully announced. Like, it was known that they were working on a new MMO.
They had talked about working on an unannounced project in like LinkedIn and stuff, but they never announced it in any way. It's supposedly a sci-fi MMORPG that had been in the works since a very long time, almost a decade.
Look at that timeline. Been in development since 2017, 2018. Here we are, 2025. Is it ready? No. Right. How many more years left on that runway? 3. Goodbye. That's what's happening. It's brutal. We've also seen as well from Zenimax Online. Is it the existing CEO of that particular team or lead was Matt Fryer?
Yeah, he's the president of Zenimax Online Studios.
So he's stepping down as well. Now, is that because and I don't want to sound cold when I say this, because I know that there are people that aren't necessarily upper management that are taking the fall. There are people that aren't upper management that are losing their jobs today, and I don't want to seem unfeeling towards them, but we are seeing, the scuttlebutt was that this was focused on that unnecessary middle management layer or that upper management layer that was costing Microsoft a lot of money. Is that the focus for these cuts? I don't think we'll fully know that for a few weeks. But regardless, multiple levels of staff are affected. Man. Ugh.
It's that mix. Like a lot of times the executives in charge at these places are also people who have been around and been a part of a ton of amazing games. And so while you call for them to face consequences, which is perfectly valid because their projects haven't worked out, it does then mean you're losing what is seen as potentially or has been fantastic sources of knowledge and leadership and all this stuff. It sucks. People are like, how come the executives' heads don't roll? Then when they do, they're also like, oh my God, they're leaving. What's happening? We don't know. It could be performance-based. It could be anger at having your shit canceled. Like, there's always a mix, and you sometimes find it out later. In the moment, people want more info. They want to know why this has happened. And it's very frustrating that we so rarely get to because of legalities and decorum and other things. Like, it's things like we don't actually know why anything's been canceled. We don't know what the unannounced projects.
Connecting dots.
We have only been told by internal memo from Matt Booty that was sent directly to a press outlet that for sure Perfect Dark, for sure Everwild, and for sure several unannounced projects of which we've only known about Zenimax Online's. Like, we don't know what the other ones could be.
And we've seen other instances of Microsoft bailing on projects that are taking too long. Like we just saw recently that Wu-Tang Clan game. We understood that was under Microsoft. Now suddenly it isn't.
As a new genre.
So like you are seeing this where some teams
and,
are not being given any runway.
Good point from Woodstar. They did say they have over 40 projects in the works. So when I did see takes like, oh, good.
I just wanted to pull it out like the full statement. Sherez, Zenimax Online Studios president.
Yeah, that's the guy we're talking about.
Shared that one.
Yeah,
just talked about it. This is Matt Booty's memo internally following Phil's, which I will get to in a second. Following Phil's note, I want to share more about the changes to the studio's business units. We've made the decision to stop development of Perfect Dark and Everwild, as well as wind down several unannounced projects across our portfolio. As a part of this, we are closing one of our studios, The Initiative. These decisions, along with other changes across our teams, and brace yourselves for some serious corpo speak here, people, reflect a broader effort to adjust priorities and focus resources to set up our teams for greater success within a changing industry landscape. We did not take these choices lightly, as each project and team represent years of effort, imagination, and commitment. Our overall portfolio strategy is unchanged. Build games that excite our players, continue to grow our biggest franchises, and create new stories, worlds, and characters. We have more than 40 projects in active development, continued momentum on titles shipping this fall, and a strong slate headed into 2026. For those directly affected, we're working closely with human resources and studio leadership to provide support, including severance, career transition assistance, and where possible, opportunities to explore roles on other teams. To everyone across our studios, thank you. Your creativity and resilience continue to define who we are. I believe in the strength of our teams and the direction we're taking on the path ahead.
Beep, boop, beep. Corpo robot. I know like
Thank
OD
you,
was...
ChatGPT.
Yeah, like
Copilot.
Someone's asking what's Project Mara was probably canon. It's like, well, that one's known. So if it was, they would have said it also might not have ever been greenlit. Someone else is saying there were rumors about OD not being published by them anymore. But again, as we saw with Blade and other stuff, rumors were flying hot and heavy. And unless they came from specific people, I would ignore them.
Yeah, correct. God.
I had somebody say, you think those statements actually go through lawyers or just for the employees? And it's like, no, they know. They are writing them and they're immediately... They just send them directly to press outlets as well.
Hey now. It's a company mandate from Satya down to use Copilot. They were probably written by AI and sanitized completely.
How many M-dashes did they have?
Exactly. I just want to have a switch gears a little bit now. Actually, no, next one. As well as those studios and games cancellations, elsewhere, multiple Call of Duty support studios have been hit with layoffs. Per Insider Gaming, they can confirm that Raven Software and Sledgehammer have been impacted by layoffs.
I think he's also added High Moon in there now.
High Moon is also on that list. So they've seen some layoffs. And also, and again, this was already kind of known to us a few days ago. Turn 10 were being targeted, and that sucks, right? Like if we knew 3 days ago, Turn 10 definitely knew 3 days ago, half at least. I think Tom Warren reported 70 staff members from Turn 10.
Yeah, Jay Schreier said nearly half.
Yeah,
and then Tom said a number.
Yeah, so that is almost sees Turn 10 become almost like a support studio. And you might be thinking, why isn't that studio closed? And my gut would say that they are the development engine pipeline for Playground with Forza Tech. So that's why that team is staying alive for now. But again, big picture, Forza Motorsport, the reboot, how long was that in development? Since Forza 7, I think was the last
7
one?
years into a dud, which we always feared.
It came out and it kind of flopped, right?
Yeah. It's a very good game now, but it's 21 updates in. 21 major updates.
So that's awful.
Yeah. I think Mike from Insider Gaming has also said he's heard about compulsion. I know somebody said just hit with layoffs, but I would be surprised if there were many studios that weren't, that have just put a game out and don't have their next one close.
Yeah.
That's one of the best strengths of Obsidian. They just constantly have something coming or something to work on. It's always the danger zone. If you put out a game and it does okay, or it does meh, and it's time for cuts. Bad combo.
Anyway, let's turn our eyes now to what Phil Spencer himself had to say as these layoffs started
I think
to
this
hit.
is a very bad email.
I've thoroughly disliked this, but it is what it is. Phil sent in a memo to staff. Hang on, wait. I'm going to get some super chats out of the way first. Rachie, member for 1 month, says, I'm sorry, quick question. Is State of Decay safe? State of Decade. To my knowledge, yes. State of Decay 3.
Jez directly said that they were fine.
But elsewhere, Sherez has said, didn't Jez say that the gaming division didn't get hit that badly in his article? Keep me honest.
It was the hardware. The surprise was the hardware division wasn't, which you and others had heard about.
Definitely heard that there were going to be some job losses on the hardware side. So.
It definitely feels like a lot of this is marketing, press, relations, and like distribution and stuff. Because in Washington, it's only 800 people of the 9,000 plus, even though they employ a lot of people in Washington state in the United States. Supposedly, it's very heavy in the especially Europe region as they consolidate a lot of that stuff and stop paying as many people to maybe do redundant jobs. I'm not sure. Maybe we'll find out over time.
Yeah. It's interesting. I got the email that Phil had sent to staff independently, but Windows Central Insider Gaming also got a hold of it. Phil said in response to these internally, buckle up. Today, we are sharing decisions that will impact colleagues across our organization to position gaming for enduring success and allow us to focus on strategic growth areas. We will end or decrease work in certain areas of the business and follow Microsoft's lead in removing layers of management to increase agility and effectiveness. Now, broadly speaking, big picture, that's actually a good thing to remove those middle management layers, that the bureaucracy of stuff. I've worked in multiple roles where there's always some freaking annoying middle management guy that gets in the way of getting shit done. On a surface level, okay. Out of respect for those impacted today, the specifics of today's notifications and any organizational shifts
will come first from Jason Schreier.
Yeah, will be shared on Bloomberg. No, will be shared by your team leaders in the coming days. So there's still going to be shockwaves.
Yeah, it takes a long time for everything to get through, especially as they're going through so many layers. But like closings and full cancellations normally hit right away.
Yeah. I recognize that these changes come at a time when we have more players, games, and gaming hours than ever before. So this is Phil directly calling out the elephant in the gaming studio. Hey, we're doing really great, and everything's awesome, actually, and we're on fire. Like, look how much money we've made.
He's a very nice guy when I talk to him in person. I fucking hate that line.
Yeah.
Absolutely hate it.
Our platform, hardware, and game roadmap have never looked stronger. The success we're seeing currently is based on tough decisions we've made previously. So, again, zoom out. What he's saying here is, because we made these cuts earlier and these strategic decisions earlier, that's why we're seeing all of this wonderful benefit. And that is just, I don't feel that is a great thing.
Because we churn you into butter that is delicious, we will continue bringing in more of you to churn into butter.
Right. And people saying hardware roadmap, huh? Bear in mind, this is an internal email, right? They have a hardware roadmap, and you can say, ooh, Asus. Yeah, they're doing something with Asus, but they are making an internal first-party developed in partnership with AMD, like the Xbox Series consoles, next-gen console. That is happening. Whether that happens again in 10 years is anybody's guess. But right now, Microsoft is still making hardware. That is fact.
Phil follows in line, and that's why he got to the point he is. He is a good businessman, which means can be a very bad human when necessary.
I mean, look, I've been in management roles where I've had to let people go before. it's never fun, right? And I'm sure Phil isn't having a nice day.
No.
But it doesn't take away from the
Right.
fact that whole sentence, that whole paragraph is just ugh. But anyway, he continues. We must now make choices for continued success in future years. And a key part of that strategy is the discipline to prioritize the strongest opportunities. We will protect what is thriving and concentrate effort on areas with the greatest potential, whilst delivering on the expectations the company has for our business. This focused approach means we can deliver exceptional games and experiences for players for generations to come. So again, zoom out. Look at the trend of the closures. Everwild, Perfect Dark, the Zenimax Online one. These are all games that have been in development for 7+ years, and they aren't anywhere seemingly now near the finish line. That's what's been cut.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Doorbell. You read.
What's up? Oh, okay. Doorbell. Then he goes on to say, prioritizing our opportunities is essential, but that does not lessen the significance of this moment. Simply put, we would not be where we are today without the time, the energy, and the creativity of those whose roles are impacted. These decisions are not a reflection of the talent, creativity, and dedication of the people involved. Our momentum is not accidental. It is the result of years of dedicated effort from our teams. So this is a better paragraph where he's saying, like, we wouldn't be here without the people that we're currently firing. And I appreciate that acknowledgement, but it's little worth to the people that are losing their jobs today.
Yeah.
And that is just fact. That's why reading these things is never interesting or great, because words don't mean shit right now to the people that have lost their jobs, simply put. HR is working directly with impacted employees to provide severance plan benefits aligned with local laws, including pay, healthcare coverage, job placement resources to support their transition. Employees whose roles were eliminated are encouraged to explore open positions across Microsoft Gaming, where their applications will be given priority review. Thank you to everyone who has shaped our culture, our products, and our community. We will move forward with deep appreciation and respect for all those who have contributed to the journey. Phil. I mean, like, yeah, what more is there to say?
And a couple super chats.
Yeah, let's dive in.
Let's wipe the corporate lawyer speak ick off of ourselves.
Yeah, I think we covered the Trez one. Sass Entertainment again saying, Nick, I know you're listening. I actually would be surprised if he is. It's still very early for him. It's like 4 a.m. right now, or 5 a.m. You were right. COD wasn't worth this. Sorry to say it, everyone. Nick was right again. Yeah, I mean,
I don't know how different. I'm curious how different it would be without it.
And that's the rub, right?
Because they wouldn't be growing without it, so it would also be like, we're not growing, got to cut.
I hesitate to talk to this line too much, because it comes across as defense force-ish. But I've made this point previously. If you look at like what Bethesda was doing before it was acquired, it was pivoting to live service and not succeeding. They were losing money. They were making great games, but they weren't selling. What are they to do? They sold. And that was to secure, at that moment, those teams, those games, those roles. You fast forward 2-3 years, there was still had to be cuts made, right? Like, I don't know the timeline of what Bethesda would look like if Microsoft hadn't intervened, but they did, and ergo we'll never know.
They were on a very bad downward trajectory. Maybe it was delayed a bit by being acquired, but it definitely wasn't stopped.
And the same could be said to a degree. You know, Activision, it was costing them more and more money, and it was becoming their only product. Like, how can they continue, or how can they grow from that? Well, I can understand. And again, you know, that may well have been a Microsoft like, oh, this will position us to win. And the only thing I really resent out of it all was, and I've said this again previously, as I said, that they utilized their relationship with the fans to initially intimate, even though, you know, the end result was that the games are everywhere. They initially intimated that this was for you, you know, the Xbox fan.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is it never was. And I will always kind of like feel like that is a little bit off of the leadership team to be so riling up the army of fans to make out that this was going to be good for them.
We've gotten Game Pass games. I think that's what they will point out constantly with the Play Anywhere stuff, all of that. There are net positives. It's just for our bubble who are more tuned in, we don't always feel like it's worth it. Compared to the casuals, like, I got Call of Duty and Game Pass. It's awesome. They don't know any. They'll see the news. Oh, they're firing 9,000 people, huh? And then in 2 years, someone will say, I'm so mad they canceled Perfect Dark in a Twitch stream. And they'll go, that was canceled? Like, most people have no idea what's going on the majority of the time. And their main audience is very different than us. But a lot of their speak is directly to us because we are the ones who are going to respond to it and evangelize it. I don't think
exactly right.
You and I have never been that way. Nick is definitely that way with Nintendo. Despite what he says, oh, I talk shit about him all the time. Yeah, he also wax lyrically poetic like a junkie every time they give you a hit. Super chat.
Yeah, there's a few. I just want to quickly cover off. Ray Oid succinctly says in the chat, Microsoft is running Xbox now. It's no longer the side project. Yeah. Amy Hood. What's the other guy's name? I can't remember.
Tim Cook.
Tim.
No. Yeah.
No, that's happening.
I know. I'm kidding.
Come on, the other one.
I don't remember.
Can't remember his surname. And Satya Nadella. Yeah.
Yep.
I personally feel, and I know that I know that
Tim
colleagues
Stewart.
at Microsoft, Tim Stewart, thank you. Colleagues at Microsoft feel that, again, I hate to like zoom in on someone, but they earn enough, they can probably take it. I have spoken to folks at that company that feel that, particularly like that leadership bubble, Amy and Tim, they don't get it. Nope. They're looking at it from the incorrect lens of the creative industry that this is. And that will, and this is my opinion, that will lead to their downfall. Like as a brand. Yeah, there are tons of other people that are actively working hard to overcome some of those decisions. But those decisions, those key decisions being made by the people in charge of cash, are going to be a detriment to Microsoft and Xbox, I think, in the long run. But hey ho, super chat wise, what else have we got? We have got Assassin again. I'm sorry, but after today, I have no faith Microsoft will ever get it right. Be it games, be it hardware, etc. They change strategy so much. Can you blame me? No, mate. I can't.
I mean, on the games, they're already getting it right. They just won't get it as right as they should.
Yeah. I mean, what else is there to say here? I think on that point, if you've got an industry, like from Microsoft's perspective, they have been playing the same game as Sony and Nintendo for a very long time. And they came close to winning once. And this is how I would say it to them. If I was in a leadership call with these guys, I was like, you came close to winning once with the Xbox 360. And your focus then was on making great deals, great exclusives, and releasing games purely for that platform. And then you let the analytical people come in and you went and you chased a trend. And yes, you right there in that moment sold a lot of money. But by the end of that generation, you'd focused on the wrong things and you were down to, what was it, 4 studios? Turn 10, 343, Rare.
Lionhead?
No, I think Lionhead was shut at this point.
Were they? No, I think Lionhead made it.
Maybe they were still
Lionhead
alive.
made it
They were shut
into
early
Fable Legends. Yeah.
And that was it. Talk about focusing on the wrong thing, right? And I feel to some degree that they are in danger of doing that again. Like they've got the studios, they're focusing on that bit, right? We've got the studios, great. But they're focusing again, they're focusing on the money aspect so much that they will lose sight.
And I think Activision accelerated the way it was going to go no matter what. Like as Phil directly stated, because the only way they were going to get more of what they needed to make their platform work, which was more first-party content, it was eventually always going to become under the purview directly of the money people. And this just made it happen right away. It rip the Band-Aid off, and instead of that coming later. Like, it wasn't a rake that they were going to step on. It was the only path forward for this division of the company. It's like, fine, if you're going to keep existing, you need to become very big and make lots of margin. Like, that's always the way that they were going to look at it.
I also feel that Microsoft, rightly or wrongly, in this industry, are never going to be looked at fondly. They're just never, it's never going to happen for them outside of like a small group of consumers that happen to have that be their intro into gaming. They're never going to be looked at fondly by the legacy media. They're never going to be looked at fondly by the broader industry because of their size and because they do things like this, and the impact of things like this because of their size is so much broader and more vicious and more brutal than, you know, your Sony or your Nintendo. And I think back when they were 360 sized and they could get away with doing all of these deals and operating in that's where they came close. But as soon as ABK has happened, and even Bethesda was probably the beginning of this, Microsoft had invested so much that the wrong people now have a say in how these things are done. And I recognize right now that I'm probably letting my emotions and my distaste for the corporate side of things definitely coming to the forefront now.
It's not like anyone in the press is getting info from Tim or Amy. They're only getting it from the people well below them, and that's rarely going to be positive.
Correct.
Doesn't mean it's wrong. It is just one handful of perspectives generally.
Yeah. Sherez with a super chat says, what's the point of moneymakers like Bethesda and ABK and yet closing something like Tango? What does this mean for smaller studios in Exile and Double Fine? Again, we've kind of said this before. But if you look at Tango as a studio before Hi-Fi Rush, right? So pre-acquisition, they'd released The Evil Within and The Evil Within 2.
The Evil Within, which did amazing. The Evil Within 2, which bombed. Ghostwire Tokyo, right after Xbox got them, which bombed, and had lost the majority of their leadership that we know of. Like they had struggled to get something else off the ground. What the reason are, should they have been able to, I don't know. Like, again, it's always, you're never there. You don't know. But from what a lot of people have said since that happened, they were always pretty much the studio that was going to be let go once shit hit the fan, because of how things had performed and had talent loss. And Microsoft had spent a long time trying to find someone to buy them before finally giving in and closing them. But then they were willing to spin it all back up at cost. It wasn't free to do that, to then sell them off to Crafton.
Yeah. And like Hi-Fi Rush was an incredible game. But even though Microsoft at the time were like, woo, and it was critically well received, it was not commercially well received. End of story.
It did okay.
It did,
but really, I don't think it had big expectations, because you can be like, wow, it exceeded our expectations, but our expectations were like not that high. Like there's always business speak around it where it can sound like they've said something that is substantial, but if you dig into it, didn't commit to anything, didn't actually say anything that could be held against them.
Yeah. And Assassin in the chat, yeah, they were pitching Hi-Fi Rush 2, and you were absolutely correct. The savvy move would be to take the punt on the cost and make that game, because the fan base would appreciate it. But that's my point, is Microsoft do not think in savvy terms. They think purely monetarily. No, the return on that game is not going to be enough. We're not going to do it. And that is a shame. I'm very glad that Crafton have picked them up and that Hi-Fi Rush 2 gets to be a thing. Breaking news here. Alan Hartman, the head of Turn 10, long time Microsoft staple, has also announced his retirement. Rare's studio lead, Craig Duncan. Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm getting right. Alan Hartman was the head of Turn 10, became the head of Xbox Game Studios.
He quit a while ago. It's not breaking.
Yeah. So Craig Duncan is currently in his role, right? Okay. Sorry. Excuse me.
Somebody throwing that out there like it's new and they got you?
Yeah, totally. I'm completely like talking out of my ass.
Yeah,
I retract.
I was going to say,
I'm a moron. I was like reading it. I was like, wait, is old news.
Yeah.
This is old news.
It's the thing we run into all the time with stuff like this, where everyone wants to have a scoop and they don't actually look at the date of when something was posted.
Yeah. I will say, like, speaking of crazy stuff, the last one that I wanted to go on was a tweet that went out from the Ghost, the Hope, or Hope the Ghost, the Ghost of Hope. There you go. On Twitter, who wrote exclusive. Phil Spencer will be retiring from his role after the launch of the next generation Xbox. Phil Spencer is working closely with Sarah Bond and her team to ensure a smooth transition for her to take over as CEO of Microsoft Gaming once he retires. Unclear as of yet who will take over as president of Xbox when Sarah Bond becomes the CEO of Microsoft Gaming. That is not substantiated. That is not fact.
I'm going to moderate that line.
However,
not the 9/11 of Xbox.
Yeah, that's
take a day off.
Now, I have no doubt that Phil. Right, so this is the thing, and this is like, I'm just going to speak candidly. There was absolutely scuttlebutt prior to today,
and for a while,
heard, and that others had heard that Phil is retiring. Now, I can't confirm that. Hence, I've not written anything.
Why don't you vague tweet about it?
I was surprised. But right now it is an unsubstantiated rumor. However, it would surprise me. Like he's 57 years of age, I think, right now. So he's not far off of retirement age, and he's probably a multimillionaire.
Yeah, when you're super rich, the mid-50s are retirement age.
But I would also say to you that from a PR perspective, while this may well be planned, this is not the day you announce it. Ain't nobody going to be crying over you leaving or lamenting your time in the industry on a day like today.
You go out the day Elder Scrolls 6 releases or something. This is good news day.
Yeah, this is something you do in a few months if you're going to do it. But it was definitely a rumor that was bubbling around over the last sort of 48, 72 hours.
Someone might have even just blurted it in our public Discord out of nowhere and then gone, oops.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. But I don't know. I feel like there's a part of me that wants to think that Phil maybe wants to leave on a high, and this is definitely not that. And, you know, leaving once the next gen console is out makes sense. But perhaps he's got other plans. We don't know. And we'll know when we do know. But there you go. That is pretty much all of the horrible news
for now
thus far.
I'm sure we'll hear about more and more studios and who exactly got gutted and other parts of Microsoft that got yoinked out and other giant corporate cuts because more and more financial years are ending. There's some good news today. It's not all bad.
Well, I was going to say, let's because this is a special report of headlines.
You want to do 3 headlines in a week?
Yeah. Meant to discuss this particular
I can find some more for tomorrow. I'm sure more of this will pop up we can start with.
Exactly. There will be more tomorrow. So, yeah, we just wanted to get together, get online with you guys, our wonderful community, and just kind of share our thoughts, our feelings, and of course our sympathies to everybody who has been affected by these cuts. They are brutal in many ways to us laymen. They feel completely unnecessary. And I will say one more thing. And I mean this, and it makes me cross. But the console warrior personalities out there that are using this to mock and to make a light of, these are real people that have kids, that have families, that have, you know, responsibilities to meet, that are losing their livelihoods.
People that are on work visas that now have to figure that out in a country that doesn't want them.
I think every single person that makes a snide remark or a joke or a ha-ha can get fucked. And with that, we'll leave things there. To everybody watching right now, if you enjoyed the stream, please do hit like. the algorithm appreciates you.
Mm.
If you really like what XboxEra does, head over to patreon.com/XboxEra where you can support us directly. We've got to get together on that name change, bro. Like, I don't like having Xbox in the name anymore.
Just more work for pre-drag. It's up to him.
It's a lot. It's not the pre-drag work is the least of my worries.
Oh yeah, then you try to make sure Google doesn't drop us. Yeah.
All of the effort we've made in building up the brand, that's the biggest concern.
Mm-hmm.
But to Xbox fans out there that are angry and rightly so, feel kind of betrayed or upset at losing games that you were anticipating, etc. You have every right to feel that way, and you should make your vocalizations known. But just always remember that there are real people affected by this, and that, you know, as a consumer, yeah, I get it. I'm bummed, particularly at losing Everwild and Perfect Dark, but I'm more bummed that the people that make these wonderful things for us, that have spent 5, 6, 7 years working on them, will never see their work in the light of day. That's the real kicker.
Mm-hmm.
Can't think of anything else poignant to say at this point. It's a shitty day in a shitty industry that really needs to get a grip on how it handles stuff. Hopefully this is the last kind of thing of this scale that we'll see for a good long while, but
for at least a year.
I doubt it. We'll be back tomorrow with more news, hopefully of a cheerful-ish variety instead of this miserable detritus.
Mostly pretty good in there right now.
Yeah, we'll try and get some good stuff in there. But until then, folks, stay safe. Play some video games. Try not to stress too much about this. And a big thank you to everybody in the XboxEra Discord, discord.gg/XboxEra, for actually being the best community to sit and chat about this stuff with.
No defense.
None of you have gone absolutely crazy.
No defense for us.
People are being really good discussion and respectful as well to the people that have lost their jobs. So thank you for that.
See you for the next XboxEra special report, January 2026. Ciao for now.
Until then, bye, folks.